Welcome to the Style and Vibes podcast with me, Michaela. I'll be giving you the inside scoop on music, fashion, culture, and more from Caribbean celebrities and tastemakers across the globe, pushing our culture with authenticity and, of course, style and vibes. Melissa Noel, reporter from the Caribbean, representing Guyana, Brooklyn, New York, everything, one Caribbean people. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you?
I am doing well considering all the crazy that is happening in the world, and I am happy to be back on the podcast, especially at this time.
Listen, we need to have conversations. So I'm not gonna hold no bars, and I'm gonna get right into it. So we have all witnessed and experienced white chocolate 758, as he calls himself on Instagram. So I'm gonna wait to that. I don't know, keep bouncing out. We've all witnessed the video in terms of him trying to explain his position in the Caribbean community as an influencer and failing miserably. Yes. So we have seen a lot of the outrage, but I think there's a real discussion around how the idea of having outsiders from the culture, primarily of Caucasian or white descent, coming into the space, being very welcomed into Caribbean spaces and places and traditions, and being overly how should I say it, celebrated, because they're in a space that is traditionally not theirs and having a good time. But also how it impacts the rest of the culture in essence, you know. What is his role in essence of being welcome into the space, and how did he feel so comfortable to say the things that he has said in such a public platform?
Exactly. I think that there were so many things that has come from, what took place in that conversation and the comments made, by that person. But I think what after, the rants online and the comments and everyone's on his page and the DMs and all that stuff, I think what it really boiled down to for me is where we place our value and with whom we place value on. Some of the biggest things that came to mind for me is that he didn't become an influencer without the help of the community. The community gave him the pedestal, the community, brought him up to that level. And there's nothing wrong with someone who isn't from the Caribbean culture to want to celebrate the culture, to want to be a part of it. We are welcoming people. I think that was a big part of it, right? We're very welcoming people. We love people to celebrate who we are. But where did it get to the point where he is now an ambassador for the culture is where I said to myself, what happened here? And I think for me, what took place there is, instead of looking to the hundreds of Caribbean influencers that already exist, that have been in the carnival space and who are not only, going about for their dancing skills, but also because they're ensuring that other people learn about the culture, its historic significance, and why we celebrate, why it's important to our respective countries. This seemed really self-serving. This just seemed like a new wave, something that he could make a profit off of. And that was where the issue lied for me, that there was profit made off of, or profit continues to be made off of a culture without there being really any sensitivity or care for actually moving that culture forward outside of the ways in which it can help you to make money. And I brought up a point when I wrote about it online, was just to say that he is a novelty in the sense that, like, yes, we know, we've seen white people who can wine. Like, the Caribbean is a melting pot as well. We come from many majority Black countries, but not only Black. Like, and that's one of the beautiful things about the region. But what struck me was that there seemed to be from the community, from the Caribbean community, this like, I'm trying to use the right word here. Like, this, people were in awe that there was this white man whining, and that's okay that people, you know, liked him in his presence. But what struck me was that that same kind of way he was revered, how he was able to get brand sponsorships or work with carnival bands, those same opportunities are often not extended to our own people who have been in the spaces for years, who have to almost beg to get, you know, a flight or to get paid. People often want them to work for free, to dance for free, to show up for free. So what that presented to me is we seem to be placing the value on people that are a novelty, and, oh, you know, this is someone who's different, and we often overlook our own. And that is where the larger conversation to me lies, and where we need to reevaluate and refocus the attention so that we can continue to support, but also to elevate the people who have been doing this all along.
Mm-hmm. So from a journalist perspective, and you cover a lot in the Caribbean in the space of culture and current events, this is not just in the carnival influencer space. This really definitely crosses over to media. So in terms of coverage, like, I feel like you could cover these same types of events, spaces, and places, but get rejected because you're not a white person. Because let's be real, travel journalism is really catered to white travelers, when in actuality, a lot of the people traveling to these spaces are diaspora kids. These are kids who either live in different countries and they bring their friends. So his novelty experience is because someone exposed him, and it's probably someone of the diaspora who's the true ambassador, exposed him to this experience while he lived elsewhere. He made it a point to make, you know, to kind of engross himself in the culture, which I think is great, but then took it a step further, and the person who introduced him to the culture is now out of the picture, and we've jumped to, because this person has an experience, and I'm not discrediting his experience. I think the experience that he has, and the one that we're talking about, is a serious, clear example of how some of the ambassadors who have been doing the work out of love get looked over. And I think that translates in the media space, period, whether you're covering music, fashion, culture, travel, all of it really becomes, I know journalists who are white who cover the same thing, and when Black journalists cover it, they don't get paid the same rates. They have to do more work. They're under much more of a time crunch. They have to have more deliverables in less time. And just talk about that whole entire
that experience is extremely frustrating, and it's an experience that is something that has been ongoing no matter what you cover in the field. And so that's why we have advocacy organizations that exist for journalists of color, due to those reasons, right? So especially in the travel space, and we've been seeing a lot more and more how the travel industry has really been called out for not only the lack of diversity, but also their willingness to work with influencers who do not look like you and I, but because they may have a big following, or they feel like they can reach this, you know, other audience, that's where they go. So it definitely translates to, and when we talk about the bigger picture, this is where it is, right? That because you because the value is placed on the white lens or that experience, when it comes to coverage, oftentimes, you know, there have been times where I have been turned down for coverage for a particular event, or told that the particular brand or outlet, you know, was not working with journalists at this time or wouldn't be able to do that, then to come to find out that someone from a different publication who is a white reporter or influencer was able to not only, you know, cover that said event, but got sponsorship to do it, to be flown out or to be, you know, to go on the press trip or what have you. So it's something that is very, very common. And I think this is an example that this just doesn't, as you said, it doesn't just happen in the carnival space, it happens in the media space in general. What I appreciate is that so many more people are speaking up about it, to the point where brands and news organizations have to answer to it. A lot of times as a Black journalist, you are often told that in order to be objective, you cannot speak on racial issues, right? In order for you to be objective, if you're saying that, you know, the killing of X person or Y person is wrong, that means that you've lost credibility. I don't agree with that. I think if anything, you showing your humanity and showing that this is something that is impacting people, this is something that was wrong, it shows that not only do you have the ability to be objective, but you also have the ability to call things out as they are. And I think that's an important part of the job. And we're seeing more and more Black journalists and journalists of color in general speak up more and have more of a voice, and not be silenced by some of these really archaic, unspoken rules of the media industry. And I think that is powerful and absolutely critical, because for a long time, I mean, I saw fallout happen at ABC. I saw fallout happen at the New York Times. There's been so much fallout when it has come to covering, you know, some of the protests that have to do with what we've been seeing happening in the U.S. due to race, or due to the killings of Black people at the hands of police. And what you get often for a lot of people is, well, if I can't, you feel like you can't speak about it because then you're looked at as not being objective. And that's just false. So now we're seeing the tide turn. People are speaking up, people are speaking out and saying, hey, it's time for these practices to change. It's not only, and it's not just, you can't just say, hey, we hired a Black person or a Hispanic person, so we're diverse. You have to really do the work to ensure that you're listening to the kinds of stories that, you know, people are asking to have coverage, that you're not taking Black people off of stories simply because you don't feel like they can be objective because they're Black. And also you are doing due diligence as whatever outlet or brand you may be, to ensure that there's equity in how you promote, present, you know, and do the work on a consistent basis. It can't just be for a couple of days, a couple of months. It has to be ongoing. And I think what this has shown us is that this is an issue not only in the carnival space, but in our travel space, how we promote our region, where we put the value, and where the mainstream media has put value in terms of who and what should represent us. And so this is how, you know, this man, white who goes by White Chocolate 758, was able to come in, like, as you mentioned, come in and learn the culture from somebody who's actually a cultural ambassador, but just isn't known, and then literally take it and sell it back to us. Because that's exactly what happened. Like, I'm gonna come in, learn the culture, and then because you're not seeing the value in it from this marketing perspective, or not that you aren't seeing the value of it from that perspective, but he was able to come in and see that there's money to be made here. And because of who he is, and because of the fact that he is a white man, and people take his opinions, his thoughts over those who may have been in this space for years, he saw, I feel like there was an opportunity there, and he ran with it. Can I be mad at that? No. But can I be mad at us? Of course.
So we get to the meat of the conversation. So being mad at us. All right. So like I said, we created the space for him to feel comfortable in.
He did.
At the same time, and it happens a lot, it feels like the need for crossover media and or white validation of our culture is where we put the value in terms of putting money and dollars behind it. We are, when it's between us, everybody wants to barter, but people can't pay their bills with free tickets. So, you know, I think that we tend to see value in our own to create the trends, right? And then hope that someone else sees it and wants to engage in it, and then pay the person who you hope attends. You know what I mean? Like, I know people who spend, and Carnival is not cheap. You know, Carnival, they pay for Carnival full, and they're not white. And I'm not saying that white people don't go to Carnival, but what I'm saying is we spend the same amount of dollars, if not more, to engage in this space. And I kind of feel like sometimes from the region, it feels like if it doesn't look a certain way, then we're not going to invest in it. It doesn't seem as important. And because they know that they will have the coverage some type of way without paying, it devalues the ambassadors to the region who really are about the culture. And I think what's not being translated is that is a cultural miss. You might not miss it today, but long term, there's going to be a serious impact on the region, because the respect for the region, I mean, you see it with COVID now. People are traveling to the Caribbean, acting all willy-nilly, and COVID's still a keep. You know what I mean? Like, why are we allowing, you know, people to come from the outside and not follow the instructions and the rules of the islands while traveling? I mean, some are better than others, obviously, but you've seen that experience elsewhere. So we have to get to the heart of, why is it that we seem to value something more when it's a crossover publication, it's a crossover chart, it's a outside marketing company coming in to see value, when we knew that the value was there all the time? Why don't we treat ourselves and our country ambassadors the same way?
Right. I think it has a lot to do with us not seeing, as I wouldn't say that like we see the value, but it's in terms of like, maybe this is so normalized, this is so regular, right? But that want for that external validation, I think has been the critical point where some of these missteps have been allowed to take place, because that want for that external validation, whether that's a particular media outlet versus one in your home country or one of the diaspora, that want to have someone who's never heard of the music or the food or whatever to say, oh, this is great. Wanting that external validation has been a big issue, because then that creates that idea that if, you know, such and such, if your neighbor's doing it, don't have to worry with that. But the minute someone comes from outside and says, wow, that person is brilliant, then it's, oh yeah, he or she is one of us, we love them, that kind of thing. And I think what this made me think about, and what I want to bring up as a major point, is that so someone like White Chocolate was able to not only, he created an entire brand, lifestyle, and everything around this, you know, idea of carnivals, right? But you have people who are, and he was fully accepted, right? Completely accepted. But you have people who are first and second generation Caribbean Americans, you know, Caribbean Canadians, Caribbean, you know, what have you. And you are told you are not from here. You have no right to claim the culture. You have people telling you, like, even though you are bred with this culture your entire life. You may have lived there. It's just, oh, like if your birth certificate don't say X, Y, and Z island, then you're not one of us. Yet someone like white chocolate is literally an ambassador for the culture. Which to me, it brings up the question of, why don't we value the people? Why do we not only value those traditions we already have, but why don't we value the people who are part of our diaspora? We talk about diaspora so much. We talk about how we spread in the culture. These are cultural ambassadors too. You know, these are people that genuinely love the culture, have been raised in it, love it. This is a part of who they are. So to tell someone that, you know, you're not one of us, but then the minute a celebrity validates you, or influencer validates you in some way, then that person's one of us. And I don't, that's not fair. I think we have to literally be fairer to our own people. And I think we also have to take a hard look at the fact that we should not wait on outside validation for us to know that our things are special, that our traditions are special, that Carnival is literally something that is so mind-blowing, that some of our festivals are things that people can save up whole 2 years just to come and experience once. And this is what we know our whole lives. But I think that wanting that external validation is why we don't value the people that we have right in front of us. And then also why we feel sometimes like we can pick and choose who we invite to the party, but to our own detriment. So he was allowed to not only create this brand and profit off of this, but also to be put in a position where these already scarce opportunities for our Caribbean creatives and influencers, like our actual ones, they're already scarce, that they still didn't get to partake in those because he was taking up that space. And from the non-apology apology, I can see that the understanding of the magnitude of that still is not there. That understanding of how damaging that can be for people who are literally who are purveyors of the culture, who have long done that understanding is still not there. And so I think it's important that moving forward, because this is not going to be the last time we see something like this, is that we truly understand that I would love to see carnival bands, you know, rum brands and different things like that, really put some more value not only on the fact that we need to support our own creators, but to create opportunities for them where they get to grow and expand in their craft. So whether that's ensuring that they have access to protecting their brands through copyright or through some kind of sponsored events for our creatives, our soca artists, our reggae artists, that kind of thing, the streaming, those kind of platforms, we've been seeing a lot of great conversations happening, or ensuring that those people, those are who you give your contracts to, those are who you team up with to do your campaigns. And we can't say, like, you can't say that, oh, there's not enough people. There are hundreds of people
They're just not looking.
There are hundreds of people. So
Yeah.
if that means you and your team need to invest in someone who's going to do that research for you, then so be it. But the excuses, or no one wants to hear excuses anymore. People want to see actionable change. And so my hope is that out of this whole debacle, we can see people actually have more appreciation for our own people, to be inclusive of our diaspora, because that has always been a contentious point, which I still don't understand why we have to keep going back and forth on that. And then 3, to ensure that we're not only creating spaces, but maintaining spaces, so that we do not have someone literally coming in, learning it, and then selling it back to us, because that's what happened. And it's been mind-blowing. And I hope that come next carnival season, we're not at a place where it's just like, well, we just let that go. I think we really do have to deal with the issues of colorism. We have to deal with the issues of who we're placing the value on. And we have to deal with the fact that we have to hold our brands and our media outlets and what have you. We have to hold people accountable, and show that with where we spend our money, how we speak out about certain things and who we support. So there's a lot, I think.
Have you ever experienced having a lack of access in the region to do coverage on certain things that other outlets have had access to?
Yeah, I would say in the travel space, there are times where I've wanted to cover certain. I can't think of exactly the events, but when you want to cover certain things on particular islands, and the access. Let me start that over. Sorry, sorry about that. When it comes to access, there have been several times, both in the Caribbean region and in the U.S., where I have tried to get press passes to particular events.
Repeat.
Because I was either covering it.
Repeat press passes.
No problem. Yes.
Press passes.
Press passes. So there have been times when I've applied for press credentials, my press passes, to get into particular events, or to ahead of time to be able to cover something in the Caribbean region. And due to the fact that the island may be represented by a particular agency that's most times in the US or sometimes in Canada, that brand agency would make the decision that X outlet or X reporter doesn't really fit with the group or the brand of people they're looking to bring in to do that coverage. So then you don't get the opportunity to do that. That has also happened here. It happens a lot when we speak about the entertainment industry, whether you're on the red carpet and you have the people, right? So like our people, whether that's the celebrity or whether that's the official in the region that does want to talk to you, but that agency representative will say, they can only have one more question, or they'll only talk over here. And a lot of times, especially when you work for what we call Black media outlets or the Black press, that happens a lot. Especially in the entertainment space. So I think it brings it back around to ensuring that we have more access all around, and putting respect on the fact that my work is just as good as someone from another outlet that may have predominantly white reporters, or may have that background. The work is just as good, the reach is just as good. And so I have had several instances throughout my career where that has happened. It has been hurtful, but it hasn't stopped me. I just said, okay, well, if that is where or how this agency or this press person may, treat me, well, maybe that's not the story for me, or I would speak out about it. And I think now that more people are speaking out about it and more people are aware, it's not happening as much, but definitely it still happens.
I think that's a key point, and especially working in marketing, I know how many agencies we work with, just with work. And sometimes it takes someone on the inside to say, look, this is what we need to do, and this is what we have to do. So I think even brands need to pay attention to the agencies that they're hiring and really request. Just because they're an agency doesn't mean they're an expert in the culture.
Exactly.
And they know what they know from an agency perspective, but that doesn't mean they know all of your target market audiences.
And the best places to reach them.
Exactly. They know what reach would get them the most effective, we like to use the word effective reach, the most return on investment that they can actually track. And that's how a lot of agencies are really tracked, based on the coverage they get, the type of reach, the type of impressions, how many people, but they're not focused necessarily on actual dollars that convert. You know what I mean? And really and truly, that next layer is where there needs to be held some accountability. And that really goes back to some of the brands and the tourist boards who are hiring these agencies to do work. They have to say, we need to be inclusive of our diaspora market. And
right.
That has to be the conversation.
And so I think that's, it's been happening. I think now with what we've seen take place as far as the racial reckoning taking place in the US and, also in other places around the world, right? This is not just something we're seeing people come together around here. We're also seeing people come together. Uh-oh, you froze. Oh, okay, there you go. Sorry, I was like, it was frozen.
That's okay.
I'm gonna start over. I would say that things are changing. There have, been many conversations around creating more equity for people in the media space, whether you're a journalist or a content creator, whether you're in film, that kind of thing. But what this year of racial reckoning has really forced was moving beyond conversations and now like literally pulling up for the culture. Show me receipts, show me what you have done, show me what you will do, and show me how it's going to be continuous, not just for the right now, not just for the present, but into the future. And so I'm really proud to see that taking place. But now I think it has to trickle down from the corporate spaces and, these roles to our everyday people whose dollars and cents go behind, creating the kind of platforms that were given to, an influencer like that, to even feel comfortable to say, to even have
I make money from whining.
like to have the audacity to say that he paved the way for Black people in something that was literally shown to him by a Black person, more than likely, and then literally sell that back to us and take up spaces that should have gone to authentic purveyors of the culture. And that doesn't mean those purveyors of the culture needed to be Black, because like we said, the Caribbean is a beautiful melting pot of people. Our Indo-Caribbean people, our Chinese Caribbean people, our Portuguese, our indigenous people. It is amazing. But what was the big part of it all is that he was given that platform because he is a novelty and because he was white, not necessarily because he had any skills that were any better than someone else who had been doing it and doing it for not only for profit, but for passion and for the community, and actually using their platforms to teach people about our culture and move it forward in that regard.
Stop elevating mediocre wines, please and thanks. Melissa, oh my gosh, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for the conversation. You're always welcome back here on the Style and Vibes podcast. It's always a great time. And please share what you're working on, what you got coming up, and how are you doing in COVID times? Like, it's crazy out here. COVID times, Black Lives Matter.
It's definitely such a heavy time that I've really learned to rest. Really learned to rest. So I have some projects that I can't yet talk about, but I am working on some stuff, that's specific to the Caribbean community and elevating us more in the both regional and diaspora space here in the US. So I'm really excited about that. I am teaching. That's been a big thing for me. I love teaching. So continuing that work as a journalism educator. And then honestly, just resting and recharging because this has been the heaviest year period. And I think I've learned that sometimes, as much as I had had all my plans to be in the Caribbean for most of the year and do this and do that, that I need a reset too. And it's important for all of us to know that it's okay to just take a step back and rest. But always here to come out when needed to say, hold up, that's not right. Let's talk about this. So that's why I'm here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And where can they find you on social?
Sure, I am at Live from Melissa on Instagram and Facebook, and also www.melissanoel.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.